Any questions you might have about how the teams arrived at what they arrived, and certainly compliments are always welcome. And I think you're going to see during the presentation, some teams have really raised the bar. I got a peek at a couple of these things, and I think we're in for a really good night. So let me see. Everybody can see my screen. That's great. One more time. This is where we go to find all of our course materials. So it's aptly named course materials. And one place I did want to direct you, I think we talked about this the first or second, is the end of course evaluation. Again, the course is retooled somewhat a couple of runs ago, and really like to hear your comments on how it's constructed, how it flows from class to class in your experience, and if there's anything about it that you think that the next class would benefit from knowing. So by all means, please do go ahead and enter your end of course evaluation. Evaluate the course content, the course materials, the course professor, whatever you feel compelled to do. Your voice is very important in NGS. Okay, for anybody who may have missed any of the earlier sessions, we were plagued with some technical issues, and I really do apologize for that. But any of the sessions that were recorded, you'll see down here under webinars. They are available to you for quite some time. Discussion forum, I sent out an email to the class a few evenings ago. There are a couple of folks who are still missing a DQ or a couple of responses to other students' DQs. I'm going to give everybody until Sunday evening to play catch up there. I know a lot of us have been traveling. We're busy. I'm getting on a plane at 5:30 in the morning to fly to Seattle. We all have busy lives, but I want to give a little extra amount of time to make sure you can maximize your GPA here in class. This is important stuff. So for tonight, what I'd like to do is I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Dave over in Team Variance. Dave, if you want to go ahead and queue up your presentation for the evening, tell me when you're ready. Try to be your own timekeepers, but I will give you a 2 or 3 minute warning if it looks like we're closing in on that.
I'm ready.
All right, Dave, let me go ahead and pass it on over. Everybody, please enjoy Team Variance.
Okay, can everybody see just one screen with PowerPoint on it?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, Larry.
Okay, good evening. This is Larry Spicer, and this is Team Variation. It's Dave, Larry, Ron, and Samuel. Next slide, please. Champions key success factors. Did the team verify all of the tasks shown in the PERT are within spec? Did the team meet its timeline commitments? Next slide, please. The customer requirement matrix. So if you look, and I don't think my cursor is working, so as you can see, it's for the compliance, there we have the green is compliant, the yellow is partially compliant, the red is non-compliant. And as you can look at the customer requirements down to the compliance portion, you can see that we only have one that is partially compliant, and that's the loads. And then when you look at the compliance maturity, that comes out to a medium risk. So that's an issue that we'll be addressing throughout this project. Next slide, please. Monitor performance. Verify metrics for CRM deliverables dashboard. Verify we are meeting the PERT and the critical path timeline dashboard. Next slide. Common and special cost factors. Special. Equipment in the process could go down, causing a delay. Not enough welders available. Not enough inspectors for the product release. A common cost factor is the environmental condition in the plant due to overall weather change outside, variability in stock material used, variability in welders from person to person, thermal stabilization time, core stretch variability, core stretching variability, and core inspector variability. Next slide. And that's it for that.
Sam, are you on?
Yeah. Sorry, I was having some audio issues. Okay. So this is going to be our neighborhood pizza case study. Of course, it's the same 4 people: Dave, Larry, Ron, and myself. So we chose to do a balanced scorecard. That approach to establishing the performance measures, and our timeline is as follows. So we know that the company themselves, prior to hiring us as consultants, they established their own vision and strategic goals. But we built in, that was week 0. So we built in week 1 for any tweaking of those goals. And then as well, considering organizational perspective. So how do those goals and visions line up at each echelon, from management down to the operations? And that would be taken care of in week 1. Also, from week 1 to week 3, we're going to be choosing the progress indicating measures. So which metrics are we going to use to look at performance? Week 4, we're looking at selecting the targets for each measure. What milestones are we going to look at trying to hit to make sure that we're meeting performance? And then we're going to spend 3 weeks from 5 to 7 informing and training the employees on this new metric system, our performance measurement system, to ensure that they fully understand it. And then week 8, we're looking at implementing it, which is within the timeline that the company set for us. Next slide. And to start off with metrics that we'll be using on the BSE, starting with lead time. How long does it take to get the pizza to the customers? That's both delivery to the home and pickup or orders in the restaurant. So that's from the time that the pizza is ordered to the time the pizza is in the hands of the customer. And the timer starts, like I said, when it's ordered and documented. And then delivery slips are used on delivery, as well as when it's handed to the customer at the in-store. Next slide. And then we're also looking at balancing cost. So how much are we paying per ingredient used on a pizza? And then we're adding all that up, and we're calculating cost of ingredients on an entire pizza. And the order system we're using is the receipts from the supplier. And basically what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have little to no waste in ingredients, and we're not over ingredienting any pizzas to stay within cost. Next. You, Dave.
So the next metric will be labor. And what we're looking at here is the actual paid hours to the employees versus how much production we get out of them. So any hours that are used for not making or delivering pizzas to the customer will be considered non-production hours. For example, cleaning the restaurant or any kind of maintenance or that kind of stuff in the background would definitely be hours paid out to the employees, but not production beneficial. So we're going to check that and verify that we are within a good tolerance there, so we're not paying more labor than we're actually making money off of. The next metric is pizza topping crust configuration. So we really want to know what our heavy hitters are and what the biggest area to concentrate on to make sure that we're the most profitable. So if we have toppings or crust that we sell the majority of, we definitely want to make sure that the pricing and perhaps from our suppliers get a volume discount if we're going to be using more of those kind of toppings. So definitely want to do analyze that and put that in our scorecard so we can keep track of that. So the next metric is peak hours. So we want to make sure we know when our peak hours are for deliveries and for the restaurant in general, just to make sure that we're staffed correctly and that we're servicing our customers properly. So that's a big one for our customer satisfaction. And then we're going to do a customer survey so that we'll have those different criteria, and there'll be specific questions asked. So there'll be a yes or no or agree and disagree. That way you can give them a score of 1 or 0. And then we can sum up those scores to give us a metric to figure out if our customers are satisfied with our product and service. So the last one is overhead cost, and that's going to be our gas, electric, water, waste removal, rent, taxes, that kind of things, items that are things we have to pay, but aren't part of the cost of the product we're delivering. So this next slide is a screenshot of our BSC, and we just put the first three metrics on there so you can actually see it large enough to see on the screen here. But as you can see, pizza cost, our plan is $16 average per pizza for the month. Our scorecard, of course, is color shaded, so you have green for good, yellow for borderline, and then red for something we need to definitely improve on. So as you can see up there, our year-to-date is $15 for a pizza, and you can see our metrics there. We ran over in February and March, but the rest of the months are good. So we have the same thing for labor and lead time there. Our labor is based on a 40-hour work week, and then the hours, cumulative hours by employee average there is the amount of hours they actually use for production time. So February we did good, and we actually billed every hour that we worked. And then the rest of the months were fairly average, and we had an issue there in April where we actually dropped below 30, and that would be our threshold for profitability. If we drop below 30 hours of production time per employee, then our profitability drops out. So, and then lead time is the last one up there, and of course you can see there our goal is a half hour to make sure pizzas get to the customer within a half hour average. And you can see we've done pretty good there, except for in February where it was red. So just the first three metrics there, and then to give you an idea how the scorecard changes color and how it works.
So this is Ron, by the way. All the metrics that we saw previously, obviously we could put into different kind of dashboards and so visual management. Depending on the frequency of the owners, how often they want to see it, we could do it. Each metric will have a complete graphical score, as we saw in like the previous slides. And we will show an example of the main one, which is the actual lead time, that 30-minute delivery time that Dave was just talking about. Next slide. So essentially, we're going to concentrate on this example is the half-hour delivery standard. We want to record the capability of lead time, and we're going to create a capability study. So basically, how well do we keep to our standard? So a half hour being our standard, and we want to see how much longer than that half hour it takes, or under half hour that it's going to take. And for the example here, we're going to pick a dinner service. So like between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. is usually dinner time. We're going to see about that. And in the next slide in a second, you're going to see we took 61 customers that night. And then one thing we also added is this thing called a capacity index. Capacity is basically how well on average are all of the outcomes coming to the standards. So depending on the employees and everything, how well are we doing to that half-hour standard? And that's that capability index, which is basically the average lead time over entire dinner service. And that would be the summation of time that we did worse against our standard, added to the time we did really good during the standard, and how many attempts that we had. The good thing about having this capability, this capacity index, is that this metric that you're about to see can be both lagging and a proactive approach. So it could be, you could actually have this dashboard in real time, and as you're running throughout the service, you can see how your capacity index is doing. And if your capacity index is getting high, that's an indicator that, hey, maybe we need to change something to finish out the service. If we're doing a lot worse than our standard, maybe call in one of your standby workers to come in and help out. So one of the good things about having both the capability chart and the capacity index is that you could also be proactive with this metric in real time. Next slide. So here's kind of a quick collection. We had 61 customers. These are the annotated times of each, and basically the numbers on the right-hand column are how well we did over our 30-minute mark. So let's say I I delivered a pizza 40 minutes. Obviously, that's like a certain, time over the 30 minutes. And so this is what those numbers are based on, how well over or under we did towards that 30-minute standard. Next slide. So here it is, what I just kind of talk about. I know there might be some questions about it, but if you can see the zero mark that you zero time, your standard, it's going to be your time where your 30-minute time frame. So if you can see, we that night didn't do at all 30 minutes. We were late that night almost every time. So you don't see any data points below that zero. And that shows, the owners and anything, gives feedback. If we were looking at this maybe the day after, we can say, hey, yesterday we didn't do so well. And then we can start going into other kind of like Kaizen or some kind of other events to figure out what the root cause of that problem was. If you look at the blue line, the capacity index, so that was the calculated kind of average. So we were doing 0.2, or I think that goes up to 12 minutes over time. So during this dinner service, we were doing 42 minutes average on delivery, where our standard was 30. So 42 minutes, that's our capacity, that's where we're at. So now bringing that information back to the owner, we have some decisions to make. Do we make our new standard 42 minutes, since that's kind of like what we are doing, or do we find other methods of bringing that down to the standard? So it goes back to your champion to see what they want to do. Do they want to go down to their 30-minute standard? We're going to have to figure out some ways to, it might cost extra money. We might have to have an extra person on shift and that kind of stuff. So that starts the conversation just basically from the data and the graph and the visualization that you can see here. That blue line, so you can see if we somehow paid a little bit more money and had some of this data come back to us in real time, we would be looking at this screen and noticing that blue line. And if that blue capacity index is getting up to the 0.2, or when we start seeing it getting up to higher than where we want it to be, then that's where we can start making action and hopefully change the night and save the night, depending on where we see. So it's pretty powerful tool. So that's kind of why we picked it. We chose this way to do it. I think that's all I can explain about that one. Well, if you go back, just wanted to note, you guys see some purple lines and some orange lines on the top and the bottom. That's actually 3 significant standard deviations from the mean. That's just kind of like statistical analysis. So that's kind of what we were talking before about common cause and special cause. And usually anything beyond those 3 standard deviations are like special cause variations. So if you see 2 data points on the top there, you usually want to check out those special causes to see what happened at those 2 points. Why were we an hour and 12 minutes late for that time? Was it that the driver had a flat tire, there was no backup, there was no boxes? You would start investigating those as like special cause variations, where everything else was more within those lines, which kind of tells you everything else is pretty common, and we can change from there. Okay, next slide, please. So that was it for that part of it. So lessons learned. Basically, we learned the importance of the BSC to use in business management. We kind of want start bringing more light into where we need to focus our attention on, and that's kind of like what these tools are doing. And also the proper use of performance metrics are, again, these are tools to kind of shine light on where we want to go next. So as you saw in our example, there's some feedback and some decisions that the owners can make now. So if we know that we average at a longer time, what do they want to do about it? So we have choices. We could either put more money, hire an extra person, bring that average down to 30 minutes, or we can just say, hey, that's life, and let's pull all the flyers that say 30 minutes or less and start putting 42 minutes. So that's kind of the lessons learned here. And I think that might do it for our presentation. Now I can open the floor for any questions that I can answer for everyone.
Okay, while the cohort is ginning up some questions and comments, and I expect there should be a few, let's go ahead and have Team Aircraft Prime get their stuff ready to present. But let's not leave you guys just yet. So around the cohort, what might you have in terms of questions or needed clarity or compliments for Team Variance?
Hello, this is Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Can you hear me? Hey,
Sure can.
I just wanted to tell them it was a good job on the presentation. The approach and timeline slide, I like that one. That was, it gave you an introduction of what you were going to do and what you were going to brief. So I thought that was a good takeaway for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, who else might have a couple of good words or just a couple of words for Team Variance?
This is Edgar. I thought the timing of the 61 customers was very impressive, actually, to have an actual idea of how those things would go down.
Okay. Let me go ahead and offer up a few of my own. Actually, we've got plenty of time. The team came in with about 6 minutes to spare, and that's unusual, but that's okay. We're going to use that to our advantage. A couple of things I really enjoyed the way the team used the concepts that we've covered in the last 4.5 weeks and kind of folded them into the presentation quite nicely. That, in addition to some materials that I think pre-existed, it really played out well. I did like the use of stoplight charting. I like the use of balanced scorecard. Could you go back to your balanced scorecard for a moment, please? Good. And how about from the first presentation? Is that handy?
The first presentation?
Yeah, if you could. Let me see. I thought I said another balanced scorecard that had a timeline built in.
This one had the CRM in it.
Okay, that one had the CRM. Okay, no, we're good. One quick question. You did talk about a lot of metrics. You articulated metrics that you would use. Could you go ahead and pull up one or two? There we go. So what kind of metrics do you think would visually and graphically tell this story?
So this particular one, we did the graphics at the bottom were directly related to this particular metric. That line chart, the plot. If you go down to Ron, the one Ron was explaining.
Mm-hmm. The one with the control limits.
Yeah, that one. I think if we go to, I think that was the only one we graphically showed.
Naturally, that's what I picked. Could you go to a different one for me, please?
Okay. Let's see. Pizza costs.
Okay. And how do you think that would be well articulated? What kind of a chart or graphic would you use for that?
So this one, we would make a chart with all the different ingredients on it. So it would have the amount, the cost of the different ingredients by the volume that we use. So I would probably use more of a bar chart or something like that, where this could actually, you can actually see the amount of each individual ingredient on there.
Okay, good. Sure, that would work. Bar chart.
And also, no pun intended, but I would also use a pie chart and also kind of look at what makes up the whole cost. And if we're starting to see that the pepperonis are starting to kill us here, then we can start making moves on, maybe not pushing those or putting less on.
Well, it might not surprise you to hear that other teams have used a pie chart for this, and we may even see one tonight. Okay, hey, that's all I've got in the way of comments. Again, you guys have set the bar quite high on this one. Nicely done, team. I did enjoy it. I appreciated it. And again, I especially like the way you folded what we've covered to date into your presentations. Nice job.
Thanks.
Okay, Team Aircraft Prime, who's going to be the key presenter for that?
I'll take it, sir.
Okay, Judith, hang on one second. Let me make you the presenter, and we'll get right into that. Okay, let me go ahead and reset the timer. And okay, whenever you're ready.
Can everybody see my slides?
Yep.
Yes.
Sure can. Go right ahead, Judith and Tim.
Okay. So pretty much this is the Team Aircraft MBB customer requirements matrix evaluation and survey in regards to aircraft readiness, parts, and availability. The team members are myself, Jay Carter, Matthew Fountain, and Megan Holmes with Dakota Magoda. And for this slide, pretty much this is the requirements matrix showing what, in an ideal situation, what would be necessary or need to happen for the aircraft to be fully mission capable. These are the key requirements directly linked to the customer's needs and expectations. And as you can see from quality characteristics, this is what we're looking at in order for the aircraft to be fully mission capable. However, when you go down to getting the parts and how to measure how we get the parts, and that's where the main issues that we've been facing since the problem set started in the beginning. And as you see in the bottom line, the notes, the importance to the customer is high. However, where we find the gaps in performance is like what they are requesting in regards to the parts needed for the aircraft and what they get. So what the customer needs versus what they get, that's a big disparity. This slide, Champions Day today, we pretty much list who we have as our champion. We have Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Dunstan. This slide was sent before he got promoted, before we learned that he was promoted. So our senior champion is Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Dunstan. And we also have our two day-to-day champions, Captain Smith and Chief Velasquez. We formatted a survey and we were able to send that to them through our mediator, Jay Carter, who works with them and for them. So we were able to formulate key questions that we bounce off of Jay in order to make sure that we were focused, we're going in the right directions. So we presented those questions to the champions in order to get their feedback and focus the team. If we need to refocus in regards to the problem set and how to meet the customer's requirement, we will use those survey questions in order to meet that need. So down this slide reflects the questions that we sent to the champions and the instructions that we also sent to them in regards to what we were needing from them in order to be able to focus on the problem set and find solutions. If there are any questions, please do ask. Pretty much, we're working on bringing all aircrafts from non-mission capable to fully mission capable. We have issues with turnaround time, getting the parts first off from the supply store, and we have 3 levels of supply chain that we have to go through. And one of the questions we've asked the champions is when do they feel the need to intercede to go higher in the echelon in order to get those parts. So that's one part of the questions that we needed to dig down and find some answers. So following questions. Basically, we're still waiting to find out from the champions whether or not these questions, if they have any more data to provide to us, Jay Carter had been able to provide us a lot of their maintenance data in order to see where the gaps are and in order to move on from that.
Okay, please continue.
So pretty much from the question that you just seen, this is the format, the survey format that we use to present it to Lieutenant Colonel Dunstan and his day-to-day champions. So all the questions that you just seen, these are the ones that we plug in there in the survey format. Also, at the end of within the next couple of weeks, we are shaping another survey, this time for the maintenance teams and the supply room, and in order to figure out from their level what those issues are, how they see it in their perfect world, how would they see the problem set and possible solutions from there. We're trying to make sure that they're part of the solution as well, because whatever we set up, we'll have to leave it in their hands to implement. Part 2. Oops. So we come up with these common causes and special causes that might impede us in our performance. So we find design error, how to mitigate that, validate the MVP design, scope change and creep, how to mitigate that. We see that it's we will need a well-defined problem statement and performance benchmarks. That's stated in the second slide. Complexity of the problem, mitigation factor would be to use work breakdown structuring to determine feasibility. It would be a tool used in part of validation of MVP. And stakeholder engagement issues, determine the level of involvement, communication as data by both parties. So using Jay Carter as one of our mediators, he's got front row with the champions and day-to-day champions. So we've been using him quite a lot in engaging the champions and making sure that we stay on track. Measurement error, mitigation, verification, double check of the validity of the data. So the data that was provided to us, we are going line by line with Jay, going through the data, finding out where the gaps are, where the issues are in order to resolve the maintenance problems that that's plaguing the fleet. Special causes, a change in the unscheduled maintenance process. That's something that we went at length with Jay in order to determine really how to mitigate that issue. And that's looking at the data, looking at when we receive the parts, and when we receive the parts, put the parts in the aircraft, test the aircraft, and make sure that we don't get any new issues with the testing phase and validation phase, and ensuring that the aircraft is fully mission capable. Change of suppliers, that has been one of the major problems, and that's why we asked the champions, when in this problem set do they see, okay, they cannot bring the unit fully mission capable with the aircraft being down, when would they see the need to step up and go to higher headquarters to request support? And any questions? This is all I have.
No, I think we're good for the moment.
Okay. Let's see if I have the other one. Let me make sure I have the right slide deck. Okay, so.
Hey, Judith, before you get started,
yes, sir.
Does somebody have a live mic with the TV on in the background? It probably does maybe here. So if you could.
We're clear? Good to go?
Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. He was just hitting a certain tone that made it hard to understand. Okay.
Okay, so this is the neighborhood pizza key performance indicators from Team Aircraft. You're already familiar with the team members. We'll move on to the next slide. Pretty much this is the case scenarios. We put it in there just as a in order to review what the organizational profile of the neighborhood pizza and the problem set that they encountered, their steps that they, how they compose as an organization. Slide 2, or slide 3. This is the drafted strategic plans for the neighborhood pizza, which includes their vision, mission, values. That's stemming from the first time that we looked at this case and the support that they, as described in the scenario. Much is straight and simple. And the strategic objectives. We'll go into the problem set. We have decided to use the Baldrige Excellence framework. As a quality improvement team, we have decided to use this framework as an approach in support of the owner's request for support. The measures will drive the ability to track the results of the improvement changes made to the pizza shop. It's quite wordy, so I will highlight the key parts of the what we use this approach as we utilize it. As you know, Baldrige uses a 7-tier scoring system evaluating 17 categories of any organization. So from the time that we looked at the neighborhood pizza case study, we've identified the gaps in the issues that they faced and looking at the Baldrige core values, what they lacked. And so we will utilize this as an approach in order to drill down to the problem set and bring them this performance-based management that they need. These are the performance measures for the pizza shop, including the key performance and key indicators. We looked at what they're utilizing. They have a good, when you're looking at their core values, mission statements, and so on and so forth, they were able to start building their, I looked at it as they started rebuilding their not so much a background, but their performance base, and also they were trying to rebuild their reputation within the community. I think this slide is for Megan or DeCarlo.
Yeah.
Megan?
I got it. Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yep, sure can.
Okay. You can go to the next slide. I think that'll be the easiest way to show it and explain it. There we go. So some of the key performance indicators that we were looking at was the delivery system, the weekdays versus the weekends, and are they more busier delivering pizzas during the week or versus the weekends? The timeline, how late are the deliveries? How far out are we going? Measurements by customer satisfaction surveys. So, sometimes you go to a restaurant and they ask you to take a survey, just having surveys of that. The takeout orders timeline, again, the weekdays versus weekends, call-ins versus walk-ins, and internet orders. Supplies availability and staff requirements, weekdays versus weekends, full-time versus part-time, and staff turnover possibly could affect the business. Next slide. So this one is defining Baldrige performance-based measurements. So the measurement agility, how do we ensure that our performance measurement system can respond to rapid or unexpected changes? Always document the changes so one can trace back the possible source of change, conduct performance analysis biweekly. How do we review the organization? Examples will be like performance trends, the organizational, industry, and technology projections. Graphs, charts, tables could be an aid in that. For performance improvement, adjustment of trainings, whether that's with SOPs, work instructions, or forms. And for future performance, benchmarking studies might aid in development of cost, sales, volume, and projection. Next slide. So we didn't really see any examples of a strong Baldrige core value. As it says in there, the owners do need a quality management program that will enable them to develop a good quality plan using macro tools such as total quality management or the Baldrige criteria. They have committed to the first steps towards realizing their shortcoming and seeking the help they need to implement such a program. That is the start of enabling the value of visionary leadership, and senior leaders should inspire and encourage your entire workforce to contribute, to develop, and learn, to be initiative, and to embrace meaningful change. Next slide. There we go. I believe Jay put this in, I think.
Yes, Jade.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, this is just a chart of one of our KPIs, which was the supplies. And what we did here, we divided it up into 6 months, 3 summer and 3 winter months. Just to gather some data and compare them. In the summer months, if you go down, you can see the first 4 or 5 categories. The numbers pretty stay the same pretty much. When you get down to like the meats, vegetables, and sodas, you can see in the summertime that the prices we paid for those were considerably less than what we do in the winter. That being, in the summertime, there's a more demand for meat, so the meat sells, so they don't have to raise the prices. The same with the sodas and the vegetables. Also, if you notice in the wintertime, the payroll, we're paying less because most of our workforce were high school kids. So by the wintertime, they go back to school, have classes, so they're not working as much or if working at all. Next slide. Okay, here, this is the chart from the data. You can see we've got the summer income, summer expenses, winter income, winter expenses. And overall to the side, we've got what we call a donut chart. And what that does, it shows the percentage of income spent on the expenses. You can see for the summer, we spent 51% of our income on expenses. And during the winter, the income was lower, but the expenses stayed about the same. So we spent 73% of our income on expenses. Next. Quality tool for analysis. This a quality tool, which is a really good tool, is the balanced scorecard. This tool gives you the owners an overall view of the organization's performance instead of primarily focusing on finances of the business. Next. Okay, key lessons learned. Significant insight on sometimes there's a need to reevaluate our answers. A lot of times we threw out a lot of stuff out there, and then after we talked about it, we were able to go back and come together as a consensus and did some brainstorming and change what we had initially started with. Timeline, we had a lot of different issues. With a lot of us are busy doing a lot of things. It was hard to get together and to discuss what we were doing. And also, it's not listed on here, but the performance measures, that was something we learned, how to use the performance measures to identify or highlight problem areas, areas that we needed to go over. That is it. Any questions?
All right, let's go around the cohort for any questions or any clarity needed. And while we're doing that, if Team VTC could go ahead and, UTC could go ahead and bring up their presentation, I'll hand it over to either Cameron or Edgar. So what kind of comments do we have for our friends in Team Aircraft Prime or Team Prime Aircraft?
Hey, sir, this is Sam. I got a question. So I was interested to see the one of the metrics you were targeting was the weekday versus weekend. I was wondering how that fits into the objectives or the vision of the pizza company themselves. I just thought it was an interesting choice.
I think we were using the weekend versus weekday just to see what the difference was, if we were getting more people or more orders on the weekday or the weekends. Usually on the weekends, people tend to order more pizza. They're off. They don't want to cook. We're just doing a comparison.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other
questions or into, like summertime, you're going to possibly be more busy during the weekday because of baseball, or if your little one has little league and things like that, whereas in the wintertime they may not be as busy during the week.
Okay, makes sense.
All right, team, if you could bring up your CRM from your first presentation, is that possible? Is the team still on board?
I don't know. I think Judith's still on.
Yeah, Judith, are you still with us?
Oh, I'm still here. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, Judith, I'd like to go back to your CRM from your first presentation, if you could. Okay, and make sure you're presenting. I mean, it's handed over to you. It has you as presenter, but I just see a blank NGS splash page.
Are you on, sir? You
Sure.
see it?
No, all I see is the splash page that says you're the presenter.
Oh, bloody hell. One moment, please.
You bet.
Now?
There we go. Right on. Okay. Hey, I'm glad you tackled the CRM, and the CRM is something that will be a part of almost every MVP, if not every MVP. I didn't want to let it go by without just a couple of enhancements here. You do have at the bottom a key that says important to customer is 1 to 5, with 5 being high, but for
Yes.
some reason we haven't put those values on the chart.
Yeah, I think those numbers were cut off when we pasted it on there, because initially they were on there.
Okay, I just want to make sure you knew that that's
Yes.
really a necessity. Typically, it goes from most critical to least critical, but certainly we always show the numerical values. And if you take a look at some of the course materials, you'll also see that there's typically some math involved. It's by order of importance to the customer, how bad the gap is between what the customer wants and what you're providing. And then there's a mathematical formula that goes in that determines the precedence by which we should be working our items. But other than that, the graphics are fantastic. It sounds like you did have the numbers in there and you just kind of got into a glitch. And that's fine. I really did enjoy your presentation. Some of your analysis on the pizza case study was some of the most intense I've seen. Very thorough, very understandable, nice presentation, team. I really appreciate that. So let's do this. Before we have Team UTC present, let's go ahead and take our 5-minute break and then come right back here and wrap up the evening with one final presentation, a couple of comments, some administrative notes, and off we go. See you in 5. To reconvene with Team UTC. I see that Cameron is presenting and he is all over it. Look at that. That is a good looking screen you got there, sir. So whenever you're ready, go ahead. I'll set the clock for 25 and we'll go ahead and take a look at what your team has opted to do with the materials we've covered in the last 4.5 weeks.
All right, you can hear me?
Absolutely.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. This is Team UTC CRM, Champion Measurables and Variation Causes. Team members is Edgar and myself, Cameron. So moving to, let's go. Here we go. All right, so for our CRM, our 2 customers, externally is Boeing and internally is Cell Operations. So for our external customer, the quality characteristics that they look for is accuracy, timeliness, and completeness of paperwork. So for accuracy, it's our FPY, our first pass yield. So the measurement is pass or rejection, pass or fail. Our target is 98.8%. That's very important to the customer. And I mean, they would want 100%. So that's why the customer view of the gap is high. So we rank that high at a 25. For timeliness, that's meeting the takt time. So for production of the 737 slides, evacuation slides, that's 35 minutes. That's very important to the customer for their on-time delivery. So we rank that high as well. And for completeness of paperwork, that's all forms are completed, stamped, dated with no missing information, no discrepancies in the paperwork. So they target is 100%, and we rated that high as well and gave that a 25 ranking. So for our internal customers, so sales operators, it's reliability, completeness of computer data entry, and consistency. So reliability, of course, is any QA from any other area can step in and know the process and know what to do. The measurement would be training, and of course the target is 100%. So the importance is a 4 with the view of the gap as a 3, so get that a rank of 12. With the completeness of the computer entry, the description is just using the tools and the ease of use as well as ease of knowledge to enter the data. The target, of course, is 100%, and we rank that as a 4. And then consistency, we can perform the tasks repeatedly for the process. Target, of course, is 100%, and we rank that as a 16 overall. So our champions performance measurables, FPY percentage, like I mentioned before, 98.8% is our current mark. That's very important. Also looking at attendance, are we at work and accountable? And then our skills matrix, employee knowledge and skill set, and then direct customer feedback, feedback regarding each individual inspector's accuracy. So our champion success factors, our PIO sheets are completed and on time. We improve the FPY scores, a more user-friendly processes, and also improve team morale. And from here, I believe Edgar will take over.
So we definitely need a strong return on investment, meaning the less rejections we have from our customer, the more we're seen in their eyes as being one of their better suppliers, and better chances of more business. Improved training procedures, like Cameron mentioned before, the ease of access and use of knowledge. Definitely improved communication, because this is definitely one of the things that pretty much hinders any of the cells for the process, due to there being supervisor, QA, engineer, quality engineer, and even sometimes a manager involved, especially when there's units that require to be shipped in the most prompt time possible. And the other one being cross-functional amongst the site, like Cameron mentioned before as well, that any QA can step into the cell and know exactly how to handle the workload, know what is required, what to look for, how to inspect it, and to make sure that all regulations are being followed and all paperwork is completed with no issues. Next slide. So common causes that we looked at, one of them is training. We need to ensure that we have a really good training format, because one of the things, how I mentioned before, communication being a big issue, is that sometimes we have people absent, and when they come in, they don't receive the training or get updated on new changes until an issue happens. Stress is a regular part of our work. It's pretty much present at all times. And people also schedule their vacations ahead of time, so everybody's supposed to know who will be out, what days, and how that can affect the workload. We usually have regular computer issues, like maybe a printer not connecting or not knowing how to access the system, part and access issues. We've had different instances where it's something that they're updating our program and they already scheduled that, so we know ahead of time that something's going to happen, and we just got to schedule better and communicate as to what is to be done and at what time. And special projects priority is that we have a division that runs certain projects, and depending on how their timeline and schedule is going, it can actually come in to play versus the regular production schedule that we help cover. But again, usually those things are scheduled ahead of time, and we'll have knowledge of instances where they do require extra help in order to balance the workload. Next one. So again, special causes, the training again is, I think I kind of jumped over on the last slide, but again, it's pretty much people who are absent from training are not updated or receive the training overall. There is overstress, especially when we have pretty much to work. A lot of times we work 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, and currently the summer is high humidity, so there's a lot of climate issues that we have to deal with alongside with the regular stress of trying to inspect units and especially work harder when not all people are accounted for, which brings up absenteeism, personnel changes, especially with promotions. So if our champion earns a new promotion of some sort, and now we have to look for someone else, new hires, individuals quit, or anybody is fired. If we have a special program crash, meaning that there are certain systems that we use, and if those are offline, then our whole site is pretty much on hold until those are back up and running. One of the other special causes is when drop-in orders are missed or not accounted for. And so now we have even more of a workload that we have to get out that was never planned for. And of course, any finance changes that come about may dictate any and all changes accountable in case something, for instance, if one cell is behind and that is deemed as a pretty much requires a rapid recovery, another cell can be stopped and people can be shifted over in order to assist in that or facilitate in that issue. Next one. That's it.
Okay, team, let's have some pizza.
Okay, so this is our neighborhood pizza case study. Again, it's myself and Cameron as part of UTC.
All right, so for our approach, we plan to utilize a balanced scorecard, so financial, internal business process, learning and growth, and customer perspective. The major steps is we want to establish strategic goals right off the bat, evaluate the supplier costs as well as internal costs, evaluate the pizza making process for efficiency, try to find the weak spots or the non-value added steps. We also want to collect and, of course, analyze the data and then evaluate historical data too, the lagging indicators to see if we can find trends or what have you. And also we want to evaluate the staff needs for part-time employees versus a need for full-time employees. And here is our performance timeline. So for the first week, we will try to establish the strategic goals. And then for week 2 and 3, we want to evaluate the supplier and internal costs, as well as evaluate the pizza making process. And then for week 4 and 5 is the collection, but mainly the analyzing of the data that we collected. And then for week 6 and 7, we would evaluate the historical data and compare that to our current data. And then for week 8, we will evaluate the staff needs.
So looking at the balanced scorecard, we're trying to decide on a couple different factors. Financial, we're looking to see if we can increase sales percentage by 1% or more a week, just to kind of give us a glimpse to see whether any recommendations that are put into play actually are being favorable and being positive. Also looking to see what the sales are versus competitors in the area, since we do want to be the #1 pizza seller in the area. Definitely evaluate staffing needs. And what we mean by that is, since there's a lot of part-timers, let's say you pay each person $10 an hour, hypothetically speaking. So let's say you have 2 people doing one certain step. So now you're paying $20 an hour for 2 people. Or can you get someone and pay them, say, $14 an hour? So now you're saving $6 an hour, and you use one person, especially like on the weekdays where there isn't such a high need for a lot of pizza orders. And then actually bring more people once you evaluate staffing needs as needed for the weekends when there is going to be a bigger spike, especially more toward late afternoon to night. And this is why we would definitely want to look at historical data tracking, pretty much to track all sales and expenses to see what has happened before, and to see where is that trending to for the current time and into the future. The internal business process, we look at cycle time, whether it be pretty much how long it takes someone to place the order, how it's managed when the order is input, how the pizza is made, and of course, this is all those steps are going to be dependent on training and how robust that training is. For the delivery, we will definitely look at travel time and the distance. The one thing that I didn't add on there, and I should have, was the number, how it can vary between the number of orders that are supposed to be delivered and specifically more so with the times. Evaluate trending of sales in order, historical versus current. Again, this is just to track any trends that have happened. And a tracker to show cost of poor quality, to see where we've actually been really affected. Maybe a customer orders something and the wrong order was delivered, or it just wasn't delivered on time, and how that affects either money on gas, money on travel, other orders affected down the line. Learning and growth is just going to be proper training, procedure, standard work, making sure that everybody knows what they're doing. Again, if someone else steps into that role or someone's going to get trained, that those steps are properly given and that the education is passed on. Definitely having a skill matrix helps because it pretty much helps everybody see where they're at. So for example, if you're the one that's going to be making pizza, you got to know how to knead dough, how much sauce to put, how to use the ingredients. And having a skill matrix definitely helps out with that, to pretty much see what stage in your training you're at. And also to establish a deadline when to have your training completed by, just for more so accountability purposes. The example of the scenario data say that the wife, I believe, is, or both the wife and the husband are the ones that train a lot of the new people. But if there is some people that have worked there more for a while, it should be more beneficial for senior staff to also train and share the best practices, since they are also the ones that have been in those occupations a lot more. And then for a customer, we definitely want to increase customer retention percentage. So definitely want to have returning customers. Want to actually increase the new customer numbers. And then, of course, those things, all these things will affect in order to decrease customer wait and delivery time, which is hopefully going to help increase our sales. And one of the things that we're thinking about is rebranding the pizza, that it is handmade and it is worth the money, versus competitors where it's not really artisan per se. So that's one of the things that kind of jumped out, that there is a possibility to be one of a kind, especially against other franchises around. Next slide. Okay, so our key performance indicators, they pretty much go along with the scorecard. For financial, we want to increase finances, so we're looking at our cash flow and sales growth. Both these are going to be more monetary measures, and we definitely want to see a target goal or anything that's pretty much more than our historical data. So the historical data is definitely one of the things we would look into and see how or what the numbers are, to have a more apt description of what we have to work toward. Cost reduction with inventory costs, and like I mentioned before, the evaluation of staffing a lot of part-timers versus staffing a couple full-timers with a couple part-timers. So for those things, we'd have to review the cost of labor and time, and we definitely want that to be less than historical. I mean, I won't really bother you too much with the frequencies, since you can see them there. I'm trying to remember some of the interesting parts that I definitely wanted to touch on. The cycle time, definitely want to do less than 45 minutes, also including delivery. On-time deliveries. So on-time deliveries was an interesting one because there's a lot of variables. We're measuring time in terms of minutes, distance, number of deliveries, and we definitely want to better it. Inventory waste, kind of self-explanatory. Customer wait time, time demand, and we definitely want to decrease that. Learning and growth. We definitely want to improve the morale, speed up training processes, and retain great performers. So also realizing, though, that there are a lot of high schoolers that would be employed. We're just looking, hopefully some of them would return to next year, since they already know kind of how the business is run, and that should actually help optimize a lot of the training or working with other new people. So part-time versus full-time, record completed training and proficiency. We want 80% or higher. That's where that skills matrix comes into place. Employer retention, looking at the length of work history, especially for attendance and availability. And that one is dependent against the evaluation. Like I said, I know they say high school students, but that's why we're looking to see if we can actually have more full-time people. And then the skills matrix itself, creating those standard works and proficiencies with deadlines, and those we definitely need to have a high completion percentage on, because I think the better trained people are and the more they know how to do their job, the better the quality is going to be. And then from the customer perspective, so increasing customer satisfaction, we looked at possibility of reviews and surveys via different ways of doing so. One of the things we're also looking to track is monetary amount of tips. So let's say there's a driver goes out, makes their delivery, and they were actually pretty good. Usually, some people tend to give a better tip to their delivery person if they are more on time and they're happy with the service. To improve Yelp and Google ratings, we would track the online star ratings or reviews and address anything with equal to or less than 3. As we see those as being things to deal with more importantly. And then they did discuss the opportunity to expand the business. So one of the things that we're thinking about is acquisition of new customers outside the general delivery area, because this would help us learn if there are more people interested in the pizza, and would there be opportunity to maybe open up a second location at another place, thereby increasing sales and traffic. And then retention of the customers, kind of like maintaining data of customers. When someone calls in, it's a lot better when they kind of feel like you know them a little bit more. So if you already know what they usually order and can get that taken care of pretty quick, then they tend to go back and buy more from you. Or even looking at something like a loyalty program being something beneficial, because that's where you will actually see, you'll actually have more data to work with and see how many customers are returning and how many have actually deviated and maybe not have ordered any of your peaks in a while. Go ahead, Cam.
All right, so this would be our sales versus expenses monthly for the year. I mean, currently we're putting it as July. So in the case study, it said that in the past 6 months, it had decreased in sales by 10%. So from January up to July, we have the decrease of 10% with the expenses going up. So with our future state, they gave us 8 weeks to try to better their organization. So you can see it from July and August, they're pretty similar. And then from September, October, November, and December, you can start to see hopefully that sales will start to increase and expenses will start to decrease, making the company more profitable. I think that is it. Oh, so lessons learned. Balanced scorecard was definitely a big one. Both Edgar and myself have heard of a balanced scorecard, though we don't really have a whole lot of experience with it. So learning about it really, really helped. And then also understanding the lagging and leading indicators or causes was big.
One of the things that we didn't add on there but I was considering, like the previous team posted about communication. I think out of the whole cohort, Cameron and I are probably the only two that are pretty much work in the same environment or the same company. And even that I thought that our communication would be better, but even with this, right now they do have us separated in different cells. We've seen this as a difficulty to deal with because we're kind of scheduled a little bit differently. And so that's affected how even Cameron and I communicate, even though we're such in close proximity of one another. And that's all I have.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Edgar just said.
Okay, good points. So let's go around the cohort. Any questions or comments for Cameron or Edgar tonight?
This is Judith. Totally appreciated the fact that the different approaches, not so much in regards to the case study. Oh, well, yes, definitely the case studies, and the fact that everybody took a different, the presentations was different, and seeing other people's perspectives kind of like gives you an idea of another way you can approach the issue. So seeing all three, my presentation with my team and the other two teams, that was quite an eye-opener, I would say, to see the different tactics that the teams used with the case study.
Okay, thank you, Judith. I see a lot of the same points that that you discussed there, and how the different perspectives can tell the story in many different ways. Pick the way that's most effective for you. Anybody else in the cohort have a comment or any follow-up? Okay, hearing none. Some of the high points, the balanced scorecard quadrants, the way you laid them out, very clear, very easy to understand, something you could mature at will. Nicely done. The CRM, that was on point. Anybody who wants to build a CRM should take a look at this team's CRM that they presented in their first half. That was mathematically correct, structurally correct. There was a template for an effective CRM. Nicely done. Again, overall, everything that was covered in class for the last 4+ weeks, I heard elements of it within the presentations, and that's kind of the whole idea. You know, not that we're fascinated with pizza, and we may become pizza shop owners one day when we're really good at this, but the fact is we took something as relatively simple as a pizza shop and dove pretty deep to try to understand how that business is run and how the measures that you may encounter would influence how the business is run, the financials, the manning of it, the ingredients of it. So nicely done all the way around, cohort. So that wraps it up. You guys did fantastic. I certainly hope to teach another class that has you as a cohort. A couple of quick notes from me. Participation, always appreciated. It helps the class flow better, and people want to hear a different voice. I know I do. So that's something we definitely want to think of going forward. One thing that I would like for folks to do is to hit me up on my NGS email. It's at the bottom of most every email that I send. And let me know who on your team contributed exceptionally to these presentations, or who might have needed a little bit of encouragement, whatever you feel free in sharing. I want to make sure we recognize exceptional performance at every opportunity that we have. So let me go ahead and take this back over, because I know we still have the team presenting. Let me take that back. Okay. And, oh, seems to me that I've timed out, but I'm not going to make you watch me go through that. So again, please go ahead and take the time to fill out the course survey. That's how we make the courses bigger and better, how we make them more meaningful to those who come after you. And I do want to genuinely thank everybody for their contributions to class, both live and in class, and had a couple of really, really good conversations behind the scenes, and I do appreciate that as well. So as we do, I'm going to go around the class, go around the cohort. If you have any closing thoughts or comments, or if you just want to say, I'm good to go, let's do that and call it a night. Larry, how about you? Okay, not hearing from Larry. How about Sam?
Good to go.
Okay, Ron?
Sir, it was a pleasure, and thanks for the knowledge.
Well, thank you for sharing yours as well. I always learn as much, if not more, than the class does from so many diverse areas and perspectives. So thank you very much. Megan?
Good to go, sir.
Okay. How about, let's see, Judith?
All is good, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, and Judith, I see your big virtual high five to Matthew. Matthew, thank you for that and your communication behind the scenes that not everybody got to see. How about Jay?
I enjoyed the class. The balanced scorecard was definitely a learning experience. You know, it seems like a a valuable tool. I'll try to learn more, do some more research on that, try to use it a little more.
I agree with that, and I think the leading and lagging indicators and how they direct you in different paths of corrective action, I think that's another area that's always worth exploring. So thank you for your comments.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Cameron, how about you?
No, this was a great course. Thank you, Professor.
And thank you. Edgar?
No, definitely that class was very interesting. I like researching and looking up data, so this definitely gave me a little bit more of a challenge than I was really thinking about prior. So, but thank you for everything, Professor.
That's good. Challenges are when learning happens, and when you're uncomfortable, not that you are, but if somebody is uncomfortable, that's also when learning happens, I believe, from my experience. Dave?
I'm good. I think it was a good class overall, and I don't have any questions or anything. I'm good.
Okay, and thank you for your contributions, Dave. And we're going to wrap it up with DeCello.
I'm good to go, thank you.
All right, everybody stay good to go. And once more, if you're behind on any of the deliverables, let's see if we can't get that wrapped up by Sunday night. My goal is to have all the grades input by no later than Tuesday evening after I get back from Seattle. And I look forward to learning with you again.